And now, please welcome to the stage,
my friend,
Senior Director, Product Management at Cribble, Nick the Tank Tankersley.
They keep trying to tell me.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to CribbleCon 2024. This is a day for data. I'm Nick Tank Tankersley. You can call me Tank, or you can call me Nick Tank Tankersley. It's your prerogative, whatever you want to do. I have been with Cribble for going on 4 years. Before that, I was working in enterprise data operations at another company. But I've been working with teams that have been building solutions on the largest data problems in the world for almost a decade. And it has been my privilege to work with customers such as yourself as they grow and expand their data strategies, their data choice, and their data flexibility. So when I say I'm a data man, you will agree. For anybody tracking, that's the second Daniel Day-Lewis reference I made in like 2 minutes. So you might also notice that my obnoxious hobby is being annoying about movies on the side. But today, we're going to talk specifically around data, how it's a team sport, and how Cribble has been evolving to help you and your organization bring more members, more users, more teams, more use cases to the overall Cribble portfolio. So what's the challenge? The challenge is simple, but the results are complex. So in the beginning, this is 4 years ago when I first started, we typically worked with 1 or 2 people working on what was at that time Logstream. These were our Cribble champions. They still are our Cribble champions. Many people in the room right now started as the sole champion user, admin, pipeline builder, service owner of Cribble, what is now Stream. But over time, use cases become more complex. The scale challenge of just how do you roll out a product suite, a data engine to your entire organization becomes a matter of removing yourself as the one wearing many hats and enabling multiple personas and multiple users in your organization to do the jobs that they're best equipped for. So from one becomes many. So when I talk to customers and my team talks to customers, what we hear increasingly is as the Cribble admin or as the service owner of Cribble Stream, Cribble Edge, Search, Cloud, I want to get out of the way. I don't want to be the bottleneck. I have multiple other parts of my organization that are actually well equipped to be the ones to build the pipelines. They're the ones who understand the data. They're the ones who are responsible for downstream destinations. They're the ones who are on the front lines running searches to augment data using Cribble Search with their own security tools. So I need to back away and ensure that I can offer a service that's highly reliable, highly scalable, easy to use, and enable these other personas. So where we have been traveling as a product portfolio over the last 2 years is really opening up a series of experiences and capabilities to onboard more users, to give them access to specific parts of the product, but also unique experiences that matches the jobs that they are ultimately designed to do. So our service owner is responsible for ensuring that the product is purchased, that it is validated with your internal procurement processes, that it's secure, that it's scalable, that it meets your needs, that it has value in the organization, and that it's able to continue to grow to meet new challenges. The admin does the sizing, the provisioning, they onboard new data sources, they help to set up SSO, they're there to ensure that ultimately the service is being managed at a highly reliable level. And then we have the data expert. And this is a new persona that we've been building unique experiences for, again, over the last couple of years. And this is the individual or the group of individuals in the organization that understand the data. So once data comes in, whether it's from syslog or from a forwarding source or from S3, there's multiple different types of data within those data streams, and different teams need access to different data sets. And within those data sets, they want to do different things. Sometimes they're going to enrich, sometimes they're going to modify the structure, so convert metrics from one format to OpenTelemetry potentially, to take syslog data and convert it into metrics, which we see happen quite often, to take data and use it purposefully for what their end workflows are. And within a large organization and a growing adoption of a data engine like Cribble, the use cases don't always line up one-to-one. So you need those teams to have a place that they are able to get access to just their data, work on their data side by side with other data experts and other data teams. And then finally, there's a typo on the slide that I wish I would have caught, is the data searcher, which is at the end, which search brings in a large volume of new users working side by side to query data, to build reports, to build dashboards, to enrich other investigations with other tools. And so as we take a single unit, a single person who's able to kind of manage all of this on a very small scale, and we break it out, there's different capabilities that we need, including the ability to accommodate a growing number of multi-user organizations. Now, when I started 4 years ago, it was not uncommon to hear one person or two people owned an entire environment. Now, this is from our Cribble Cloud statistics, 278 of our cloud organizations have 2 to 5 active users a month. That's not just people who have accepted an invitation, who's in the auth system. These are people who are logging in, running jobs, doing things. 80 of our organizations have 5 to 20 users. And within the last month, 6 of our organizations have gone over 20 users. And in fact, I know for a fact, 2 of them are over 100 active users working within our product set today. That's a very complicated environment, right? There's a lot of room for people to get access to data they should not have access to step on each other's toes. So collaboration requires isolation. Good fences make good neighbors, and good policies around access control, isolation of environments, network isolation is really important for growing companies who are looking to implement a data strategy that serves them today and in the future. So as the data engine grows, the complexity of access and isolation grows, but Cribble is up to the challenge, and I'm going to walk you through several ways within Stream specifically that we've been able to take what is a growing environment architectural challenge of giving users specific access to specific parts of the product and the problems that they need access to, and making it something that can be done easily, scalably, securely, and performantly across multiple different teams, multiple different data types, multiple different use cases. So we're going to be talking about 3 main capabilities and features in the product portfolio, and I will jump into a demo in just a moment. So first is workspaces. How many folks in the crowd today are Cribble Cloud users? We got a handful. So one call to action I have is that Cribble Cloud is generally open and free. We don't hide anything. We're very proud of our products. If you're not a Cribble Cloud user, even if you don't intend to bring your workloads from a self-managed environment up into cloud, please go sign up for a cloud account. It's a great way to see where we're going from a portfolio perspective. It gives you access to all the wonderful new AI tools that were being shown today. And it is a absolutely risk-free, cost-free way for you to continue to experience and work with how Cribble is evolving as a company. Now, we're not at any point moving any of our investment away from Stream and Edge on-prem. We're always looking at new ways that we can bring other services closer to where your data resides. And at the end, I will show you a new thing called Connected Environments that also helps you to bring self-managed environments into this working multi-team experience. So workspaces are a cloud concept that basically creates unique, isolated environments of all Cribble products within a single organization. So it is a multi-tenant model within Cribble Cloud. So the way Cribble Cloud works is that every single company or every single organization has a unique AWS or has a unique backing cloud account. So completely isolated network, completely isolated resources. There's no room for spillage. It's not shared infrastructure. So you have already a completely isolated and bounded environment. Workspaces allows you to create up to 50 unique VPC environments that contain all of the elements of the Cribble portfolio. That is Cribble Edge, Cribble Stream, Cribble Search, Cribble Lake, access control lists. It is scaling capabilities, all very unique within every single environment. So it is sort of the largest isolation construct that we have. You can think of this as a staging environment, a dev environment, and a prod environment. You can think of it as different parts, different business units. You can also think of it as more of an MSP style, which we're seeing increasingly within our cloud world as more of those service partners onboard and adopt. So the ability to set up a unique environment for each individual one of your clients, each individual one of your business units, that all falls under one organizational banner and that has one central spend and one central way to control and access and manage those workspaces. The second is worker groups, and this is probably the concept most of you are familiar with if you're a Stream user. So a worker group is a boundary around resources within Stream for collecting, processing, and routing data. So worker groups are the most effective way to give power users access to specific flows of data coming into your Stream environment. So while the workspace is a wrapper around every single part of the Cribble world, the worker group is a wrapper around just the data for specific workflows within Stream itself. Edge has concepts of fleets and subfleets. Lake has data sets. So within each of our products, we do have a grouping concept that continues to create isolation. So from a worker group, you have the ability to set unique IPs, load balancers, access points, control lists for who can send to that group. You have the ability to create unique lookups, knowledge objects, as well as pipelines that are group specific. Groups have their own commit deploy mechanism, so people working in group A do not step on the work in group B. But it's really a large sandbox of tools and capabilities. And as we began working with more customers who are really driving towards a self-service model within the Cribble product portfolio, the ask rapidly became, well, how do I just bring my data experts in who all they're going to do is work on a pipeline? I need to make sure they have access to just the data they need access to. So sometimes you have multiplex sources within an S3 bucket. Who knows what's in there? Within a specific agent sending you data, you might have 4 or 5 different data sources, data types that you need to isolate, that you need to bifurcate and send to different teams. So Stream Projects was something we launched last year, and we've been building and iterating on over time to allow you to have the smallest level of containment around your data that gives your power users and admins the ability to do pre-processing. So if you need to obscure PII or you need to eliminate or filter data before it reaches a project, the team assigned to the project can only get access to that data and they can only send it to the destinations that they are allowed to send it to. Now, the last part about projects is it's unique within the Cribble portfolio because it also has completely isolated configuration. So within a single worker group, you could have multiple projects. If the security team has a project for routing data to the SIEM and the IT team has a project for routing data to an observability tool and it's using a similar set of data sources, you can route the data to the different projects, and when the security team is ready to commit their changes, they can commit without it affecting any of the configurations or any of the data that is being sent to the IT project, even if it's the exact same data source. So now you have teams that are able to work together within an individual worker group. Worker groups allow teams to work together all within Stream. And then workspaces allow large organizations to have multiple isolated independent environments to work together at the full scale of the portfolio. So it looks a little bit like this, and this is a terrible slide. I'm not a visual. I should have had our design team go after it, but let me walk you through what you're looking at. So these are the different boundary boxes. These are the nesting dolls of how data flows into a Stream project at the very end, but ultimately just generally how it flows from where the data originates down into where the users, the data experts, the searchers are able to get to it in a much more isolated, a much more job-specific way. So the workspace is the boundary around everything. That's the VPC, right? That has all of the network interfaces. It has all the network services. It has all the access control lists. It controls who can get into the overall portfolio. And again, I'll show you this in the demo in just a moment. Then you have Stream as the product. So you could replace that with Edge. You could replace it with Search. You could replace it with Lake. But there's a boundary around that. So you might have a specific subset of that data going to different products within the Cribble portfolio. And then you have the worker group, which again, you can now take all the data coming into Stream and you can isolate it to different worker groups, route it to a different set of compute nodes. And then at the bottom, you have Stream projects. So what essentially happens is that every step of the way, you can filter, select, and decide who gets access to what and at what level, at what visibility, at what scale. So it's a very hard problem that we've been working through. If you were at the keynote, and I'm sure most of you were. I'm sure you saw Driton talk about app config portability and composable management. Those are capabilities and features that will be coming underneath all of this to make it easier to ship configurations between environments, to distribute common configurations between multiple worker groups and multiple projects. So making ClickOps a thing of the past and making it much easier to provide quick and easy access for your teams to the data they need, but also have a centralized way to be able to promote code through different environments, as well as make rapid changes across multiple parts of this stacked configuration. Cool. So we're going to do most of the work in the demo. We're going to be doing a demo. I'm doing the thing that is really difficult on a demo, which is I'm going to be playing multiple personas with different access controls. So I'm going to jump in between browsers a little bit. If we could switch to the demo screen. I think they're probably, there we go. Thank you so much. All right. So my Chrome user is the super admin. It's the owner of the organization. They have carte blanche access to everything. They can do everything. This was the original one user, multi-hat, can do everything, right? But those days are going away. I'm sure many people in the room would love to get out of the business of doing every single part of the data operations pipeline and really focus on what's important for you in your particular role and allow other teams to come in. So this is the new Cribble Cloud UI, and it's our new product UI. It makes it a lot easier to bounce around a multi-product environment. So I'm just going to walk through some of the key concepts. So organization, that's that outermost boundary. It's even around a workspace. So the organization is the account that can host multiple workspaces, multiple streams, multiple worker groups. It is the outer boundary around all of that. It exists at our highest level, which we call the management plane, which is essentially just a bunch of APIs for managing all the components. Within that area, you have members and teams. So these are the users and the grouping policies that you can use to create RBAC rules to quickly onboard people. You put them in a team, and those teams are shared access to different parts of the stack that I was showing you. You can do SSO management, API credential management, all that stuff, billing and usage. But the workspace is that VPC. It's the boundary. It's really where all the data is going. So within a workspace, I have 4 products. I have Search, Stream, Edge, and Lake, but we're going to be really focusing on Stream today. Within that, I want to talk about the worker group. So now we've gone from the organization down to the workspace, and this is the worker group. So the worker group has a unique set of ingress IPs, as well as a public ingress address that's fronted by a network load balancer, so you can use either one. And so for each group, this is the specific set of compute and storage that is allotted to the data coming in. So in this case, I have unique data flowing to this group, and I have unique data flowing to this group, but it's all being managed by the exact same stream environment in this particular workspace. We also have egress IPs, so this is the IPs that you would use in your firewalls or your downstream access control list to grant access to these workers to send to you. But as I'm noting, for each group, they are unique, so they do have a network boundary wrapped around them in and of themselves. So that's the way a group works, and I'll walk you through the creation of a group and how you continue to scale that out. Now, within the organization, if I wanted to create a brand new workspace, so now I have my main workspaces where I'm doing all my heavy lifting, but let's say I want to create a dev workspace. I can easily just click Add New Workspace. I'm going to save so I remember to delete this later. I had like 20 workspaces I forgot about. And then I'm going to save. So this is going to go through the process of creating the workspace. It'll take 7 to 10 minutes. We'll come back to that cooking show. We'll get a full baked lasagna, and then we'll come back to the thing in progress. So now this is being spun up, but I'm going to go back to main. I actually do have another one for one of our product managers named Ben. It's not about a big friendly bear. There's actually a person named Ben in the organization. But even within that workspace, there are unique groups. This one doesn't have anything provisioned, so you actually can provision and deprovision worker groups in cloud to save money, to ensure things can be shut down at certain times. But the workspace has a unique URL. It will have unique endpoints for ingestion of data. It will have unique network controls. Within every workspace, you have access control lists, which are seeder blocks, which allow you to restrict who can send to these different workspaces. So all of those are unique per workspace. All of that is very isolated in that way. So I'm going to transfer back to my main workspace, and I'm going to walk through a few of the other pieces. So from here, I'm going to go into Cribble Stream. Now I'm still in Google Chrome. I am still the super admin. I still have carte blanche access to absolutely everything. Give this one moment. Network has been with me. So I have 3 worker groups. I have my default worker group, which is just doing some light processing of data we have internally from the product management team. And then I have this new worker group, which is my MSSP ingestion service. So I have multiple partners. This is all fake data, but I have multiple partners sending up to this one worker group where I am taking that data and then I am breaking it down into specific data points and I'm routing that to a S3 bucket. And then I am using search to build dashboards and adoption dashboards for that product. Now the problem is I don't want to be in that role anymore, right? Like I don't have the time, the inclination, nor the data expertise to be the one who's ultimately responsible for building the pipelines to ensure that data goes downstream. We have a team internally. They are our services team and our channel team. They're the ones who ultimately want to be able to quickly make changes to that data pipeline and be able to update the rules where that data is sent. So my only job is really ensuring that they have access and they have it set up the way they want to have it set up. So I'm going to go into that worker group. And within that worker group, I have this thing called projects. So as I mentioned, projects are about a year old. I think they were launched in 4.2. We just launched 4.7.1. So we've had 5 minor versions to harden and really perfect this. So a project is a very simplified view for a user. So if I go back out to the worker group, as a power user, I have access to everything. I have access to all the sources. I have access to all the destinations. I can go to my routing table. I can build custom data routes. I have my processing table. I can do all my pipelines. So this is ideal for those users who really need the entire workbench, who are doing very complex flows or otherwise setting this up for the users who are just very data-centric. So for my services team, I don't want them to have to deal with any of this. I also have other data coming into this worker group that they should not have access to. So when I set up my data project, I have this thing called a subscription. So a subscription is very simple. And for those of you who are familiar with routes, it essentially works very much like a route. So a subscription into a project is, as a name, it has a filter. So I'm grabbing HEC telemetry. And then it's just for a demo. I can also apply a unique pipeline to it. So if I needed to change some values, get rid of some PII, if I needed to filter it further, I can do that as the power user or admin before my end user even sees that data. Additionally, on any one of my destinations, I can apply a post-processing pipeline as well to do post-processing. So if I need last mile tagging, or I need to do validation for schema, or I need to just ensure that something is being hardened on all of my data sets, I have that control. So we have allowed our power users and admins to not only enable their teams, but put guardrails around the entire flow, the entire process for getting data into a project to empower that data expert team. And I'll show the data expert in just one moment. So from here, I have given them access to 3 data sets. This is my legacy S3 destination. I had this going before we had Cribble Lake, which launched in April. I am going to now switch personas, and I'm going to go data expert, and I'm going to show you what a data expert would experience as a user who only really needs access to this project so that they can connect this subscription to the new lake, begin putting data in Cribble Lake, cut off our S3 destination, and then they have full control of that. So I'm going to use the new Arc browser. Very nice, by the way. I don't know if anybody's used Arc browser, but it's pretty solid. All right, so this is, I'm going to back out a little bit so you can kind of see the full experience from the ground up. There we go. So I'm going to go back out to my product. So if I log into Stream at the top, actually go out to, there we go. So I'll go out to when a user logs in, when my user logs in, they'll have access to a handful of different things. So I only have access to Stream and Edge right now. So I'm going to go into Stream. So when I go into Stream, I'm not going to see all the things that my power users saw. I'm only going to see the worker groups that I have access to. And when I go into that worker group, I'm only going to see the project view. So I've taken away all of the complexity, my other self, took away all the complexity for my current self in how you have to navigate, how you have to use the Cribble products. So now all I see is the data that I have access to, so my subscriptions, and I could have multiple. I could request that my power user or admin give me another subscription. And then I have access to all of my destinations that I should have access to. I can run a capture here, so I can actually pull a capture of the data that I'm supposed to see. I can save that. I can work on it in the pipeline. I can make commits. Everything that's committed in this project will not affect anything else in the rest of the worker group. So projects are completely isolated. So when I make a change here, so I'm just going to connect it to Lake. I'm going to do it as a pass-through. It'll give me a commit project button. So when I commit this as the user, I am sending a commit message, and that commit is successful. So I can do that as much as I need until the project is wrapped up, at least the next phase of the project is wrapped up, and then my power user or admin will do a scheduled deploy of those resources. So individual project users, again, are not there to manage the infrastructure, to manage the rollout, to manage the deployments. So a best practice is typically to have a timed deployment or to coordinate a deployment staging time for these projects. But from here, my life is really easy as a data expert. If I wanted to work on the pipelines, I would be able to easily go in and see these are just pipelines. So all of these pipelines is just for, access control issue. But all of these pipelines are just for that particular project. So none of the pipelines in that project will show up in other projects. None of the pipelines at the global level will come down in the projects unless I share them with that project. So it continues to create isolated environments for my entire team to be able to work together, different personas, different experiences, really designed to give the owner, the admin, the power user, all of the tools in the toolbox, but to give the data experts access to just those things that they should have access to. And as one other part of that, I'll go back to my switch roles, I'll go back to my admin. So the way that I got to that place is my user, my data expert, is a part of this product management team. I shared that project with this team earlier today, so they're now editors of that project. And because of that, now that I have a team set up, any new user I bring in, and they're gonna be a part of that product management team, I'm just gonna add them to that team, and they get everything that that team has. So there's dashboards assigned to this team in Search. There will be data sets assigned to them in Lake. But now the onboarding is as easy as adding them to a team. And then once you add them to the team, it's AD groups. I mean, we didn't invent anything super fancy, but it does tie the whole experience together. It accelerates onboarding. It makes it easier for you to use the tools and the processes you have today to quickly create these isolated environments to grant people individual, smaller access to the different parts of the data puzzle. So when we say data is a team sport, that's what we mean. Again, when I go back 4 years ago, it's been a crazy evolution from a product and product management perspective. We used to just have a small team of about 10 developers, and we would all get in a room or a Zoom, and we would be like, let's talk for 20 minutes. That's the next quarter's amount of work. Let's go after it. Now that we've gotten bigger, we have to have people in their own lanes. You have to go from playing 6-year-old soccer, if anybody has seen little kids play soccer, you know that the ball goes over here and an entire swarm of children go over there as well. Ball goes over here, they all go over there. But as you mature, you have to become role players. You have to back up, you need defenders, you need midfield, you need strikers, you need people who fit nicely into their world, who stay in that lane and who are able to do their job effectively. And the way you do that is you create within a product like Cribble or within a suite like Cribble, all the tools necessary to ensure that people just have access to the data and the experiences that they should have access to. Now there's one more thing. So this is really great if you are Cribble Cloud native, right? You have all the workspaces, but if you're a self-managed environment, how do you employ a similar sort of multi-environment, multi-workspace concept using self-managed environments? Well, as of the last release, 4.7, 4.7.1, within Cribble Cloud, you can now connect any number of on-prem environments to your Cribble Cloud environment. We call them connected environments. So what this is a completely unique, let me pop it open. So this is a completely unique 100% self-managed on-prem stream and edge deployment that has a connection to a cloud leader for billing and purchasing and licensing purposes. So I don't need a unique license for each of these environments. So if the requirement is, I like workspaces, I like all these unique things, but really we have to self-manage 30% of all of this because we have OT environments or we have data centers where we cannot connect nodes to the cloud leader. The good news is we got you, right? So you can now connect all of those different environments to your cloud, and then these have unique logins, unique SSO connections. They're completely isolated from every other perspective. It's just a thin connection of data and a thin connection of telemetry needed for us to do the back-end billing and the identification of the environment. So everything that I showed you in Stream is available here as well. So projects are available here, groups are available here, but now they're in entirely self-managed environments. Now you can mix and match not just who has access to what multi-tenant environment and cloud through an entirely cloud SaaS experience. Now you can mix and match that with your own self-managed on-prem experiences as well. So let's transition back. Let's talk about what to do next. Get out of the demo world. Thank you so much. So where do we go from here? So cloud has everything you need, but cloud is not just for people running workloads in Cribble Cloud. It's also for people running workloads in their own data centers, in their own clouds, who want to keep the control plane and the data plane close to their data, but want to have a multi-tenant, multi-environment approach where they don't have to worry about separate licensing, to worry about separate spend. You can centralize it all right there. So any cloud enterprise user can start with workspaces today. The connected environment's also for cloud enterprise, but the good news is if you are an enterprise on-prem customer, we will have a lot of tools for you to easily make the switch to a connected environment style of deployment. So feel free to go in, create new workspaces, delete workspaces. Workspaces in and of themselves will not incur any charge in cloud, so you can spin one up, kick it around, delete it, no big deal. Not until you start processing data does the credit counter start running. Projects are free for all within Cribble. So feel free to go after projects, no additional licensing required. And then also just let us know how we can help. When we went on the self-service multi-team journey, we realized that there's about 60% of the workflows are common, but 40% are very bespoke and very unique. And we're trying to accommodate as much as we possibly can, but talking to you, hearing your pain points, hearing your vision, where you want to take your company, where you want to take your data strategy, is how we fuel our backlog. So everything we saw today was based on customer conversations. It wasn't something we dreamed up, in the back room somewhere. It was based on talking with some of the brightest people I've had a chance of working with from a customer perspective, and I see many of you that I've been in conversations with that led to many of these investments. And we're going to be outside. We have many product managers, many engineers. Let's start building the relationships now if we don't already have them. And we're always in Cribble community. We're always there for you. So with that, I'm going to open up to any questions if you have any. And I think we have about 6 minutes for that.
Hi.
Hey.
Is there any plans to bring this out of cloud only and have it be on-prem only?
Which part of it?
Like being able to break it down to that degree of granularity?
So all of the things I showed you are available on-prem or cloud.
Oh, yeah.
So workspaces are like a unique environment that are cloud specific, so you can spin those up in cloud. But the connected environments allows you to have as many on-prem environments as you want. Those contain worker groups as well as projects. So the workspaces concept is cloud specific, but you can have as many on-prem environments as you want connected to cloud. Yeah, and then if you just want to run it all self-managed, worker groups and worker groups and projects are already in self-managed on-prem environments today.
So maybe I missed a step when you were doing the demo. So when it comes to provisioning users, will you be able to have, well, a couple of questions. One is, when you have multiple workspaces, will you be able to remove worker groups between them? So for example, you might set up one in one and then be able to port it over to another as you're going through a deployment. That's my first question.
Yep.
The second one is, having gone through some of your team with my single sign-on question, is having a mapping where you can then actually move roles and stuff dynamically through the UI provisioning process?
Yeah. So the first one, the question was portability of sort of groups and configurations between workspaces. So that will be coming second half of this year. So right now, if I create a group in workspace A, or say my prod workspace, and I want a partnering group or a similar group in workspace, my dev group, I have to go and manually create them in both places. So templating for workspaces, so create a workspace based on the configuration of another workspace, as well as shipping configurations between workspaces. So take this source to destination pipeline, take this project and promote it between workspaces, is coming later half of this year. That's what Driton was showing us, we call app configuration portability. SSO, so SSO will connect to Teams and Cloud in the next couple of months. That team is actively working on it, so you'll be able to create dynamic mapping groups with roles. We call it teams. So you basically create a team, give that team different roles and responsibilities, and then you have a mapping ID that will map, and you can put whatever custom ID you want that will map to your external groups. Yeah. No, if you can shout it, I can hear it. I'll repeat it.
So right now, when we have multiple worker groups in one workspace,
yeah.
You send from one input to, like, say, the Cribble default, HTTP, whatever.
Yeah.
There's no internal charging against your credits or agent licenses.
Yes.
Is that true for the workspaces as well?
Yes, okay, so there is a concept in Cribble called Cribble TCP and Cribble HTTP. If you have worker groups or fleets or edge nodes all under one leader, you only get charged when the data comes in the first time. So if it comes into a Cribble worker group and you want to send from worker group, let's say you have a final worker group that is set up to send to a specific destination, you just want to lock it down as like a single gateway, or you have a worker group that does a different layer of processing, which is a common pattern as well. You can send that data from the receiving worker group to the destination worker group using Cribble TCP or HTTP, and you only get charged for that first time. So no charge for Cribble TCP, HTTP. The caveat, the technical caveat, is that's within a single leader. So they have to have a shared leader. So sending data from workspace, like a pattern we see is sending data from your prod workspace back to your dev workspace so you have a flow of a sample of data that dev can work with. That will currently incur a charge because Cribble TCP and HTTP doesn't reach over workspaces, but we plan to have that worked out in the next couple of quarters as well.
So my other question then is, relative to developing and deploying packs,
Yeah.
have you thought about the ability of having a workspace where you can deploy it, to take a pack, deploy it, customize it, and then have a CI/CD pipeline that can then go back to your other workspaces that may be for production for other.
Yes. So the question there is thoughts about taking something like a pack and having a true CI/CD or code promotion path to move a pack from like a developer workspace or a developer group into a more production environment or a staging environment. Absolutely. Again, I'm going to go back to app config portability and composable management. So things that we're talking about on the main stage during the keynote, app config portability is how do I create an end-to-end smaller amount of configurations that I can move through the development CI/CD pipeline, so source to destination, pipelines, promote it, check it out, do the whole thing, version management, rollback. So that's the portability piece. Composable management is once it arrives in a workspace or once it arrives in an environment, distributing it to multiple groups, multiple fleets, all that kind of stuff. So those two are coming together to solve the problem of taking configurations that are ready for promotion in a development environment and moving it naturally through the code promotion path. And that will even be inclusive of moving it to an external tool like a GitLab or a GitHub or a Bitbucket so that you can do full reviews, you can do merge requests, you can do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Yes?
May I ask a question regarding Cribble Search in context of workspace?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Cribble Search, you have before Workspace came about, you have usage groups and all those constraints that you put in. When Workspace comes in, those settings, do they still replicate across workspaces, or they are constrained overall?
They're constrained to the workspace. So usage groups in search are unique to the search that's within a given workspace. Usage groups will, however, be tied to teams. So you'll be able to manage usage groups and teams together. So if you have a InfoSec security team that needs a certain amount of usage allocation, you would onboard them with the team. They'd get attached to that usage group. Everything would go that way. One of the things about creating common usage groups across workspaces, let's talk about it. I mean, it's totally possible. It's just right now we keep workspaces a pretty tight boundary for that isolation perspective. Yeah, I think I'm out of time. However, I'm going to be out there for a couple of days. So if any other questions, please come see me. Thank you all so much. It was really great being the inaugural presentation for this part of the CribbleCon. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.